Succession, it's a term that we use in biology to describe the changes in species that occupy a specific area over time. So basically what it wants to say here in simple words is that many organisms will pass through a specific area in order to make it successful. And what do we mean by successful? To make it habitable from many living organisms. Now, there are two types of successions. We have the primary succession and the secondary. Now, both successions have many similarities, but they also have their differences. Now, we're first going to look at the primary succession and then at the secondary. So, primary succession happens in lands which have never sustained life before. It starts with environments that are full of rocks and ends over the time, over years, in forests. Now, how can rocks turn into a forest which it can support life? To start with, these rocks here, they need to find a way to turn themselves into soil and in minerals in order for different plants to start growing on them. To convert these rocks into soil, we need specific organisms. And these organisms that are the first one to go in an environment that is not very suitable for living are known as pioneer species. So these pioneer here species are the first one to go and live in a specific land. An example of a pioneer species are the lichens. Now, lichens can live on rocks. Now, these lichens, and of course other pioneer species, have some specific features. They can reproduce asexually, they can make seeds and spores, they can photosynthesize, and they can tolerate extreme conditions. These lichens here, over time, will start converting a very, very bad environment into a more suitable one. They will turn this environment into a less hostile one. But this process, of course, takes hundreds of years in order to happen. So, another species that usually follows lichens are the mosses. Now, mosses are more like plant looking, like a bush if you like, and they are usually the ones that follow the pioneer species. After the mosses, we have other plants like ferns. And after ferns, we have more like common plants that we usually know, like grasses, shrubs, and different other kind of pines that will grow into a forest. And of course, when we have a forest, it means life can be supported, so the forest will attract other type of animals and living organisms. Now, when we reach a stable community, a place where we have fixed species that will not change now over time, this we call that climax community. It's like we have a stable community because everything is now fixed for life and living. Now, as the time goes by, of course, and the environment changes, the environment becomes, at the beginning, the environment is very suitable for the lichens. But as the lichens start converting the rock into soil, the environment becomes less friendly for them and more friendly for the mosses. Now, the mosses will convert the environment. Ferns will find this environment more suitable, but the mosses will not find it suitable anymore. So they change and they change and they change. So this constant changing of species in an area over time is known as succession. And the primary succession, it's basically when we start life in a land that has never sustained living organisms before. Now, if we go back here, we're going to see that we also have the secondary succession. Now, the secondary succession is the same as the primary, but the only difference is that the secondary succession happens in land that has previously sustained life. Now, the succession here needs to start over because of some disaster. For example, it's maybe because of a forest fire, maybe because of a volcanic eruption, or maybe because of agriculture. So secondary succession will follow the same steps as the primary. The only difference is that this land that the secondary succession is going to take place into has already sustained life before, so it's going to be faster. Okay, so overall, remember that each time to start succession we need pioneer species. Now, pioneer species differ depending on the environment, but mainly are the lichens. Now, lichens will change the environment and make it more suitable for other organisms to come in, but less suitable for them. So like lichens will go away, more species will come in, these species will convert the environment into something new, and then they will go away, new organisms will come in, and goes on and on and on. When we reach a point that the living organisms that reach there at the end, they will stay forever, okay? And that we call it a climax community. It's basically when the community is now stable. So during succession, remember that abiotic factors become less hostile, there is increase in biodiversity, more complex food webs, since more organisms come in, then you have more food chains and more complicated food webs, and you also have an increase in biomass.